Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is Friday, October 6th. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
Yo.
Oh, it's going. You know me, just taking life one day at a time, doing that kind of thing.
That's what we do.
Yeah, you guys have fun with Thursday Night Football?
Hate it. I hate Thursday Night Football. I really do.
All right.
Well, last week was better. Last week was a better game. This one wasn't so great.
I hate it for fantasy. It sucks. It sucks for fantasy football.
Well, I mean, we can jump right into the warm-up, which, as per usual, is what was your biggest takeaway? I have quite a few, so I want to see if you guys overlap any, but I'll just, because of that, I'll just jump in and say, man, do I love Tony Romo as a commentator.
He's actually really good.
He's so good.
I love him. Yeah.
So much insight.
I agree.
Easily one of the most underrated quarterbacks of the previous couple years. I mean, and his ability to just see things and explain things, he's doing a great job. So, I mean, shout out to Tony Romo. But the game itself, do you guys have any takeaways?
Man, what else?
Yeah,
What not talk about? Go ahead, Jason. You go first.
You were gonna say something about Folk, weren't you?
I mean, it's gonna go that direction, but I was gonna focus on that Tampa Bay offense. I think that Cutter did a horrible job. I mean, you go out there, your defense. I mean, they're already stuck in a bind as it is. Being with a lot of injuries to those linebackers plus the safety position. They go out there and they do a good job. I mean, they keep put Brady in check, get a turnover, and then you go out there and you go 3 and out. And then you go back out there again, another 3 and out. Then you go back out there, another 3 and out. 3 straight drives, you get the ball and you go 3 and outs. That first half was basically pointless. It was a waste because you didn't do nothing. You didn't get start push any rhythm. You didn't get your main guys involved, and then they try to force feed people like Deshaun Jackson. I mean, I know it was all talks. When is he going to get involved? Well, listen, there's a proper way and ebb and flow of things and getting certain people with your game changers involved where it still flows in the offense and you're not overstretching yourself where now it's just, the whole chemistry of the offense is out of line and out of whack because you're trying to force feed a person when that's not the route right there. The route was not to go to Deshaun. The route was to go to Cameron Brate. Or the route wasn't to go to Cameron Brate right there. It was to go to Mike Evans. So it was just out of whack, and then they come and get it later on, and then like Jason mentioned earlier, Nick Folk just I mean, yeah. I heard an interview with saying there's no garbage people in the NFL. I have to disagree with that because your job is to kick a field goal. You were brought there to replace a kid that could not seize the moment. The moment got too big for him, and here you are. And then what do you do after that? The next week in preseason, you miss another field goal. So it's like, what in this team is? I don't know what's going on.
Tampa Bay just is bad at kicking.
They're terrible right now, and they're making me mad because I know so many people believe in this squad. I love me some Jameis Winston, but he was bad today, overthrowing people and just easy throws. He missing them. He was pissing me off today. I was like, man, what are you doing out there, man? How you hype me up in the beginning of the game, and you just go out there and do a performance like that? It was atrocious.
And if only they had made those field goals, it would have been a completely different game.
Yeah, man.
It would have been completely different. Now, I will say this. That Tampa Bay defense did a phenomenal job, as we already mentioned. I mean, they played well above the way they should have played, given the fact they were missing several starters, including Quan Alexander, who's a fantastic linebacker.
So
they were gutted in the middle. Levante David, right? I mean, they were gutted in the middle. They didn't have anybody to cover those receivers and the slot guys and stuff. So I get it. I understand. But as you mentioned, they played well, and they kept that team in the game. Right. Jameis Winston looked very out of sorts in the beginning of this game. I mean, he just could not find his receivers, trying to force the ball down the field, like you mentioned. But I think this was less on Jameis Winston. I think this was more that New England defense. I think that was the defense getting the better of Jameis Winston because they started doing something no one's done yet, which is play that soft zone. And Winston hadn't seen that this year yet. He's been relying on one-on-one matchups and things like that. He plays this New England defense who's in that soft zone. He can't find his receivers. So I think the beginning was him acclimating to that. I mean, he played better in the second half of the game. He started finding people. A couple of key takeaways that I had, though. Winston and Jackson actually started looking like they were becoming a thing near the end of that game. He started looking for him more. Jackson was getting his hands on the ball a little bit. Definitely the best game that Jackson's had so far. So I liked seeing that. I also got to say, Doug Martin looked like he was motivated today.
You beat me to it.
I mean, he got out there and he was. I mean, there was one point where I was sure he was down. You know, he ran in, they grabbed him, he bounced off, turned around, and pulled another 3 or 4 yards out of that. I mean, that was impressive. And then, of course, he got the touchdown. 14 points. So a good first game back for Doug Martin. I think he looks motivated. I think he's going to be very, very good this year. So if you have Doug Martin, I think it's time to maybe put him in your flex, and then he might end up being a running back 1 or 2 very, very shortly here.
Exciting workload for Doug Martin. I mean, yeah, he did, like you said, 74 yards and a touchdown, so that's 5.7 yards per carry average, and that was on 13 touches. Looking
very
good. Good start. Like you said, if you have Doug Martin for fantasy, I think you can safely start starting him from this point on. If you were questioning him coming back on a short week. Let's wrap this up. What was your last one, Jason?
Last one, Cameron Brate. He actually looked very good. He dropped a couple passes. I was kind of mad at him about that. You got to catch those, man. Come on now. If he caught those, he'd have had a lot of points. But he still had a lot of points. Scored a touchdown. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's a lot of stuff, and like we said, if they could just kick field goals, this would have been a completely different game, which is very frustrating.
I feel your pain, Tampa Bay. I feel your pain.
Yeah. So, there's a next-gen stat I was trying to bring up, but of course my browser's crashing, so not a big deal, just a little fun thing to add on. But all right, moving on. As per usual, you remember, we're the Fantasy Football Fanatics. If you guys want to connect with the community, you can do so on Twitter at the FF Fanatics, and your easiest way to submit questions, get news, things like that, that would be our recommendation to you. Or support the show, patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Get yourself bonus perks every single week, just the bookkeeping. Let's move on to our top headlines from around the league. We'll start at the quarterback position, where we'll talk about Tennessee Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota, who has yet to test his hamstring in practice this week. He has been practicing, but he has been doing strictly stationary throws, so basically just light pivoting, hasn't been on the move, anything like that. Are you guys, what testing the waters here, what are you guys' thoughts on Marcus Mariota? Does he play this week? Because, if he's been stationary this whole time, it starts to concern me a little bit. They're saying that they think he will, but I'm not on board with that.
I don't think he will, and even if he does, I'm not starting him.
Yeah, I don't think that's a smart decision as a fantasy football, player, and as a coaching staff for the actual organization. I don't think that's smart. There's still a lot of season left to throw that kid right out of there, and he has a already injured hamstring, and you're not. This is not the first round of the playoffs here. So this is week 5, so they can take it easy and let him heal up, and then he'll be better for you later on. In a couple weeks, I would say 2 weeks at most. Depending on the person, but hamstrings, man, those are tricky, man. Those things linger. So the more time he can be able to heal, the better for you in the long run.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll afford to give him that much time, but I think that the odds are he probably doesn't play this week, and then maybe they'll do a lot of short dump off stuff that'll keep the ball out of his hands quickly. I don't think they're going to want him to run, but he's their franchise player. They got to get him back out there. Too bad, because he has a great matchup against the Dolphins, who are giving up a lot of points to the quarterbacks right now. Of course, we will update as you know more. Again, follow us on Twitter at the FF Fanatics, and you'll know when we know. Oakland Raiders left tackle Donald Ben said in a recent interview that quarterback Derek Carr told him that he is, quote, very ahead of schedule, end quote. Now remember, he's recovering from, putting it simply in layman's terms, a fractured back. He was given a what is wrong with me? A 2 to 4 week timetable. There it is. So this just tells me that they're leaning more towards the 2 weeks than the 4 weeks. I don't think he's going to be back in a week or anything like that. You don't get back from an injury like this that quickly. So if you are a Derek Carr owner, I would take this as positive news, but don't expect to have him this week, especially in a tough matchup against the Ravens defense. So, just a thought there. Moving on to Indianapolis, where quarterback Andrew Luck did not practice on Thursday, dealing with that shoulder injury still. They're working him back very slowly. He did come out in a recent interview and say that it was a posterior labrum repair, so a little bit different than what we were initially led to believe. And these, medically take longer to heal. The timetables vary, but he said that he will definitely be playing this year. So, not necessarily the vote of confidence we've all been hoping for, and we heard he'd be back practicing, so maybe those reports that we were talking about last week where they're saying he might not actually see the field to November are looking a little bit more realistic with every passing interview and every passing practice. I don't know, have you guys heard anything differently, or are you kind of leaning towards he's going to still need some time?
I mean, I'm just going back to my conversations I've had with you two about this dude, and I'm just looking better and better each week. So.
Yep. I mean, it's looking more like the truth is landing more on what CJ thought at the beginning of the season. I gave him 3 to 4 weeks before he could come back. It was week 5. Looks like he's not going to be back. So, I would say that he's probably going to be a couple more weeks before we start hearing about him throwing in practice and things like that.
If CJ throws enough darts at the wall, some of them are bound to stick, is all I'm saying.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, this
4 or 5 a nut every now and then.
This is a good one right here to be able to stick it to.
Yeah.
And my Jason Witten one too. That was enough.
It's not a bad one to hang your hat on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings quarterback Sam Bradford did practice on Thursday, still dealing with that knee injury, bone bruise. His status is still slightly up in the air, but things are pointing up. There's a good chance that he does play this week. Again, we will let you guys know when we know more, which is a great
I said it needs to happen. He
does need to happen.
And just get out there on that field.
I mean, him being out there is a great upgrade to all the Minnesota Vikings offensive players, and they're going to need the passing game going with Dalvin Cook going down, and a decent matchup against divisional foe, granted, but Chicago Bears, which have been, not an elite unit. Not that any of us were expecting them to be. Let's move on to the running back position, where Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett said that running back Ezekiel Elliott bruised his ribs last week against the Los Angeles Rams. He is expected to be fine and play through it, though, so just something to keep your eye on moving forward. Practice reports he might not get a full workload this week. Decent matchup against the Packers, too, so we'll see how that plays out, and if we hear anything in addition to this, again, we'll let you know. What do you guys think? I mean, since we're hearing about this so late, I have to imagine it's not very severe, so they'll probably put him in a flak jacket and send him out there, would be my guess.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. All right, let's move on to Miami Dolphins, where running back Jay Ajayi was held out of practice on Thursday, still dealing with a knee injury as well. Jay Ajayi, he played last week. I think this is all precautionary. We've talked about this, I know I have at least extensively, that he has a degenerative knee condition. So when having a knee injury holding him out is a scary thing if you're a Jay Ajayi owner, but I think they're going to get him going. When they were a good offense last year, they were running the ball first, and having Jay Cutler back there just slinging it inaccurately all over the field is clearly not working. So I think that Jay Ajayi's time is coming, and he has an okay matchup against the Titans this week. What are your guys' thoughts here? I honestly, I think I was the highest on Jay Ajayi out of the group of us, but I don't have any shares of him. Do you guys?
I have him in a couple leagues. This is the week. I mean, this is the week that you're hoping for, that he goes and gets going. I mean, it's definitely all the cards in Jay Cutler's hands right now as far as this offense going, because their defense is seeing that they're seeing the struggles going on right now. So until they make them respect the pass, that's when Jay Ajayi is going to be going off and he can start getting some good fantasy points with you. But until that happens, he's going to continue to get shut down, and you're going to continue to look at poor fantasy points coming from him.
Titans are giving up the 12th most points to fantasy running backs, and this is Miami's first technical home game. This is their home opener in Miami. So, I mean, if there's a get-right week for Jay Ajayi, I think this might be it. I mean, it's got to be. Otherwise, what are we doing here? I mean, I know we were basing all of our projections on those 3 monster games he had last season and all the offseason news we're hearing about how they're going to up his workload, but we just haven't seen it yet. So I think they have to realize the error of their ways and get him going, and I think they will. Especially after 2 basically shutout weeks. They're going to have to change something. Anything to add, Jason, or ready to move on?
My main thing with Jay Ajayi is he's extremely up and down, and the fact that we got a new quarterback in there, the offense is trying to figure who they are. That's why I don't have any shares of Jay Ajayi in any of my leagues. I need to see, some consistency, and this is not the year to look for that with this offense with a new quarterback.
See, to me, having a different quarterback in there means that they're going to want to funnel the ball through their proven pieces. I would think they'd want to run the ball.
Unfortunately, it hasn't happened.
That's true.
I mean, it's a wonderful thought. It's just not working in practice.
I believe in Adam Gase to right the ship. We'll see how it plays out. Let's go to Green Bay with the Packers. Our running back Ty Montgomery practice again on Thursday, also dealing with ribs. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say definitively, I don't think Ty Montgomery plays. I mean, we see people with bruised ribs miss at least a week or two. It's usually a pain tolerance thing. This technically is as well, but he actually broke his ribs. He cracked them. So I think that medically they're going to hold him out for at least a week or so they can heal up a little. Because if he takes, as we talked about on Tuesday's show, or was that the Patreon? Either way, if he takes a good shot to the ribs and his ribs are already damaged, he could get internal injuries. So I think that they're going to want to hold him out for a little bit, especially with running back Jamal Williams practicing in full dealing with that knee injury. So if you went out and drafted Aaron Jones, you're probably not too excited about hearing that news right now. But I mean,
picked up Aaron Jones.
Not drafted, picked up. You know what I mean.
Why would you be drafting now?
It feels like drafting.
3 running back on the team. Don't draft him.
Don't draft that. Don't do that.
It feels like drafting when you're doing
free
agent budgets.
Please.
Yeah, right?
Do it in our league.
So,
we have a deep league, though. We do have a deep league.
So I think that Ty Montgomery doesn't play. I think Jamal Williams does, and this could be the week for Jamal Williams where he's going to get a workload. Now, I think it's going to be a spot start. I still think it's Ty Montgomery's job when he comes back, but I think he misses at least 1, maybe 2 weeks before he starts working in, and then it's going to be a murky situation. But I could be wrong, but just based on what I'm hearing, I think that this is all nice fluff and misdirection, but I don't expect him to play. Do you guys feel differently at all?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't trust it. If this the injury was like 2 weeks ago, and he's practicing doing this now, then I would say okay, I'll trust him for this week. But it just happened last week, so I don't trust it. I'm sitting him down this week.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't start him at all.
Yeah, if he's out there, it's going to be diversionary. All right, let's go to Philadelphia, where running back Wendell Smallwood did not practice on Thursday, so he's dealing with a knee injury as well. CJ, is he going to play or not? What do you think?
He might. If he doesn't, if you don't have no shares of LeGarrette Blount, another name to go get, Corey Graham. He looks good. Corey Clement. He looks really good.
Graham's
I know that's our corner. My bad. I'm sure. Yeah, he's been looking good. He's got opportunities, and he's been getting opportunities not only in the run game but also in the passing. So that's another name for you.
Yeah. Big workload for all those other guys. I mean, LeGarrette Blount. I mean, we wrote him off weeks ago, but I mean, injuries have opened the door for him to have at least a decent amount of volume. So I think he'll be at least the first second down back if Wendell Smallwood doesn't play. So, and obviously red zone, so there's upside there. Let's go to New York with the Jets, where running back Matt Forte has still not returned to practice, dealing with that turf toe injury. Everything I'm hearing and seeing looks like he's going to miss another week, so I would start Bilal Powell with confidence. He actually has a pretty decent matchup against the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, that little side note. I didn't jump the gun there. He's not anyone's start of the week, is it? Looking. Nope, not. Ooh, Jason, I just looked at your start of the week. That was a guy I was going to put up there, but I just couldn't get in on it because I have faith in the other guy there. But we'll get to that. Let's move on to the wide receiver position, where Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. That's wrong altogether.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I can't type. New York Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. remained, quote, limited in practice on Thursday. He's dealing with the dislocated finger and the busted up ankle. Expectation is that he's going to play. So, I mean, I'm starting him regardless. He's got a great matchup. Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin returned to practice in full capacity on Thursday. That's good news there. Oakland Raiders wide receiver Michael Crabtree was upgraded to a full participant on Thursday, so that's exciting news as well. I honestly didn't know if he was going to practice or not, which further makes me not like my sit of the week. So, yeah, we'll get to that. Green Bay Packers head coach Mike McCarthy said that wide receiver Devontae Adams currently is still in the concussion protocol. So if you went and picked up Geronimo Allison, it's looking like it's a better and better opportunity for him. I don't think Devontae Adams plays. I mean, I don't see him clearing the concussion protocol by this Sunday. Do you guys?
No. I mean,
No.
come on, man. The dude's head almost was removed from this man's shoulder.
My God.
That's not
That's
good.
rough.
I mean, they cleared him from like neck and trauma, spinal injuries, but I mean, he's still coming back from whiplash.
Yeah,
He's still got a
he's still
concussion. I think that they're going to be smart to give this guy a week. So I don't have much faith in Devontae Adams, and yeah, we'll get into more stuff soon.
What you mean? That's your lover. What you talking about?
No, he's not. I hate Devontae Adams. In fact, I just know the upside. And
I
then
just get him every year and start him all the time.
I don't need
Keep on
this sass.
drafting each and every year.
I mean, you can't deny that the number 2 wide receiver in the freaking Green Bay Packers is not a guy who's not going to produce for you.
Griffin,
That's what I'm talking about.
Actions speak louder than words, and your mouth says no, but your draft board says yes.
My mind is telling me no.
Wow. So anyway, last bit of wide receiver news. Cleveland Browns wide receiver Kenny Britt did not practice on Thursday, dealing with knee and groin injuries. Also, the fact that the head coach kind of hates him. So
What is he still doing there? What are you doing? Get out of there. Why haven't they fired him
Go
already?
somewhere else.
I don't know. He had a decent week 2 weeks ago. So I don't know, maybe.
True.
He's
Help me out.
he's one of their few healthy options right now. They're gonna hold on to him. And then a little bit of other news: the Los Angeles Chargers have signed kicker Nick Novak, so he's back with the Chargers, where he was there from 2011 through 2014. Was with the Texans the last 2 years, and they waived Young Ho Koo. So the young
We'll probably end up over in Tampa Bay.
Oh my god, that would be terrible.
that would be
How much worse could it get? He's
So
got 5
bad.
straight kicks
So
that guy.
worse.
so bad.
Worse. You get rid of you have 3 kickers now that
So,
come through there that have yet to make consistent field goals.
Yeah, so they can go from
That's
one
true.
terrible kicker to a guy who's not kicking as well he has throughout his career to another inconsistent kicker. So that seems like a toxic trend there. That's borderline definition of insanity right in front of us.
There you go.
All right, so with that, let's move into our topic of the day, which is our Week 5 preview, our starts and sits of the week. So let's start with the starts, as we usually do. Remember, there are 4 teams on a bye week. This is the first week with byes, if you exclude, obviously, Week 1, which was a special circumstance with the Dolphins and the Buccaneers. This week, we have the Atlanta Falcons, the Denver Broncos, the New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Redskins on bye. So if you have players from any of those teams, make sure that you have replacements and they are out of your starting lineups. Let's go ahead and start with our quarterbacks, as we normally do, our starts of the week. I'm going to let one of you guys go first because I like mine enough as super deep sleeper, so I'm going to go last with this one.
That's a super deep sleeper, man.
I like it.
That's super deep. I'm gonna say, well, I'll go next. My guy's Dak Prescott, man. He's going against the Green Bay Packers. The last time these two teams met, man, actually twice last year, during the regular season and in the postseason, man, Dak had good games on both of those. I think that he's going to continue that, being in Jerry's world and having a great game this Sunday. So I like Dak Prescott this week.
All right.
Jason?
So this is going to be very interesting because my start, I know for a fact one of you doesn't like because he's going to end up as one of your sits. But my start is Phillip Rivers. Now, the reason I picked Phillip Rivers, first off, is playing the Giants. Okay, and the Giants have not been playing well recently on defense. It's been kind of sad. Not only that, if you look at how he's done this year, he's had one bad game against Kansas City. And one subpar game at the beginning against Denver, both extremely good defenses. But then he went out and he played very well against Philly and against Miami. So he's had a little bit of an up and down year. I think he's kind of on the upswing and coming off his best game of the year so far. I think he's going to play very well against a subpar New York Giants pass defense.
Okay.
Is this the first time in the history of this show that we've ever had a start and a sit? That seems like something we probably should have argued about pre-show. Holy crap!
You know what I'm saying? So what? So Jason, what is it? Because we gotta put something on this.
I know Jason doesn't like to bet, but holy crap!
Spoiler
we
alert,
can't give conflicting advice right now.
Spoilers. So what is? So what? How many points are you looking at?
Yeah.
If he, how many points does he have to go over?
Do I have to be the tiebreaker here?
What's that again?
I said, how
many points? How many points does he have to go over for him to be a legit start? Where like this is you look good coming out on this. What does he do?
Well, that's a good question. You know what? I would say he would need to repeat his performance from this last week, at least. At least repeat the performance from last week.
25 fantasy points?
No, he didn't score 25 points. Let me look here.
I would actually side with.
I had it up, and then you asked me after I brought it down. You're killing me.
Yeah, I would side with Jason on this one personally. I think the Chargers looked like they kind of got right last week, and the Giants are giving up an average of 17.5 fantasy points to the quarterback, giving up I think it's the 7th most points to fantasy quarterbacks right now. So I mean, it's actually a good matchup.
I'll say 20 points, CJ. I'll say 20 points because he scored 19.8 points. He would have scored more. But he lost a fumble, and that actually drove his amount down. So I think anything over 20 points, you got to think of him as a good starting aspect.
Okay.
347 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's good.
Okay.
I would say if they get to 15 points, that's a decent streaming option. So yeah, that works.
We're not looking for decent right here. We're looking for
I'm expecting 20.
I'm talking about among like average scores. Obviously, you want more than that, but. Yeah,
of course.
I mean, it's a good matchup, so I would lean Jason's way here, as I like him more as a start than a sit. So, a little diversion there. My start of the week is Jacoby Brissett. Now, a number of reasons. He's got another week under his belt. They're at home in Indianapolis, and they have the San Francisco 49ers coming into town. They've been giving up a boatload of points, and it's everything looks to be lining up. And, when I saw this game, a couple of weeks ago, I thought, God, this game is going to suck. But now I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think that this could be a shootout, kind of like the Rams-49ers game was a couple of weeks ago. I actually really like Brian Hoyer in this game as well, but my concern is that the Indianapolis Colts, they have one real stud on defense, and that is, why am I blanking on his name? Vontae Davis. So I think he's going to shut down Pierre Garçon. So I'm not sure where else he's going to go, but the Colts are actually giving up the 5th most points to fantasy quarterbacks. So, I mean, I would honestly, if I was in a 2-quarterback league or in a situation where I was in a deeper league and I was streaming quarterbacks, I would start either one of these guys with pretty relative confidence. I just went with the home quarterback between the two. So, yeah, I'm starting Jacoby Brissett with confidence this week. Deep sleeper. I like it a lot. Let's move on to the running back position where I'll stay in the exact same game, and I'm starting Frank Gore. Again, he's at home. He's got a juicy matchup. I mean, obviously we know the 49ers were historically horrific against running backs last season. Well, they're not that much better this year. They're giving up the 4th most points to fantasy running backs. So it's just too good of an opportunity. I think this game will, again, possibly become a shootout. I want pieces in this game, so I'm getting in on the quarterback and the running back position because the 49ers are giving up an average of 28.3 fantasy points to running backs right now. That's a beautiful stat line right there. So yeah, I'm starting Frank Gore this week. CJ, your guy.
My guy is Latavius Murray. What? I know. I understand what you're saying. Listen, but look, you got to look at the situation right now. Dalvin Cook is gone. He's no more. He's no more. Jerry McKinnon, he's not really a thing right there. So the next guy up, the guy that they signed, that big contract in the offseason, Latavius Murray, it's time for him to shine. All right? He didn't really look too good once Dalvin Cook went out right there. But look, he's just getting the sea legs under him, man. I mean, look, the man been sitting on the bench watching this kid doing his thing for weeks. Now it's time for him to shine, so he got to get acclimated. He got to get ready. So I think this is a good week for him, man. He's going against the Bears. They can be ran on. They have shown they can be ran on. And I think this is a great opportunity for Latavius Murray to show, hey, listen, I am still that guy that played out there in Oakland. I know I got a different line, but I can still be that dude for you. So I like him this week.
I don't know. The Bears are giving up the 6th least points to fantasy running backs right now. It's a little scary.
Division game, man.
Division game.
It is a division game.
But you got to throw that stuff out in division, man.
But I think defenses play better in division. And my concern here is that I think that, kind of like we were talking about earlier, I think that he's going to be kind of that lead back. I think he's going to get a decent volume, but Jerick McKinnon's going to be the 3rd down back, so you're going to be looking at red zone upside here. So I'm really, really hoping that Sam Bradford plays because that's going to really help this start of the week. Can it happen? Oh, yeah, easily, but I'm just preaching a little bit of caution here. Jason, your guy.
All right, so I was pulling back the curtain a little bit. I was going to put Carlos Hyde down there because he's been playing great, and he's got a pretty decent matchup this week. However, I decided to throw all my chips on the table, go all in, and say, Isaiah Crowell against the Jets. Okay, now look.
Oh, man.
All right, I get it. This one's borderline worse than Latavius Murray, but I get it. Okay,
Whoa, wait a minute.
he's playing the Jets. The Jets have been absolutely garbage against the run this year. They've been the third worst team against the run. Okay, third best matchup for fantasy. Okay, this is the perfect storm. If Isaiah Crowell cannot score fantasy points this week, he can't at all this year. So I'm throwing all my chips on the table. I'm going all in, and I'm saying, all right, let's go, Isaiah. Show me something this week. I think he can do it. Isaiah Crowell's my starter.
I back you up completely on this, Jason. I was on the verge of putting him in as my starter of the week when I was filling out this doc. But the concern for me is that they have shown throughout 4 weeks that if they get behind at all, Isaiah Crowell comes out and Duke Johnson goes in. And that's why it really scares me, because if the Jets get up, I think we're not going to see any of Isaiah Crowell. Could it happen? Yeah. And if the Browns get the leader, are they going to keep him in? Absolutely, because they're going to want to really be able to pound the ball. But, I mean, it's scary. Because, I mean, the Jets are giving up the third most points to fantasy running backs right now. It's an amazing matchup. But the situational use is really scary to me.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. But you know what? I also see this as sort of this is his make or break game right here. You know, he's had such a horrid year.
Oh no,
this week. This has got to be it. He either plays well this game, or they're going to sit his butt down, and we're going to see a lot more Duke.
No, this is the break or break game for me as a fantasy owner. I'm hoping he goes out and puts up a big week so I can trade him, because he doesn't have very many good matchups like this coming down the line. And like I said, when they fall behind, they don't use him. So as much as I really like Isaiah Crowell, and he was a darling of all of ours going in and through draft season, they have flipped the script on us. So I'm going to try and move him if at all possible. That was all of our running backs, right? Let's move on to the wide receiver position, where I am starting Randall Cobb. Green Bay is on the road in Dallas. Dallas has been less than impressive on defense, which was basically the assumption coming into the year. And remember, we just talked about somebody's missing, Devontae Adams, so that means Randall Cobb is locked and loaded as the wide receiver 2 in that offense. They're giving up the 8th most points to fantasy wide receivers. Someone has to be on the other side of the field of Jordy Nelson. That's going to be Randall Cobb, getting a good amount of work, working out of the slot, moving all over the field. I love this matchup for Randall Cobb, so start him with confidence this week. Locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded. My guy is Adam Thielen, man. Listen, I know these last couple of weeks under Case Keenum, you know, you had some highs, you had some terrible shaking my head lows. But look, there might be some bright side at the end of this tunnel, man. Sam Bradford might be coming back this week. And you already know, when Sam Bradford and Adam Thielen are on the same field together, it's instant magic. It's instant fantasy points. And even if it's Case Keenum this week, you know what? I don't know if it's like a odds and ends or there's odds and evens with this dude, man. He's good with him one week, not so good the next, and then he's good another week. So I'm gonna take that approach, man. Either way, I'm playing Adam Thielen because he's that good to me. Start him with confidence.
He's got a Thielen.
All right. Giving up the 9th most points is a good matchup.
Yeah. All right, so I put a lot of thought into this one. My start of the week is Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm not starting him with my heart, so calm down. All right, it's just a bonus. It's a bonus for my heart. But no, actually, I put a lot of thought into this. Like I said, Philly has not played very well against receivers. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Philly has also not played very well against tight ends. Larry Fitzgerald kind of fits the bill of both. They use him more as a tight end, really, in his routes than they do as a number one receiver. So because he's in the slot more often, he goes in and blocks. He plays almost like a tight end. So I think those two things combined, he's going to be in the middle of that defense, and he's going to shred that defense. I'm sorry, CJ, but this is my start of the week because of those reasons.
I mean, yeah,
I'm just some tissue for you.
Yeah, I'm just giving you a hard time because the Eagles are giving up the 3rd most points to fantasy wide receivers, and we were saying this all last week. Just throw the ball to your good players, and whenever they throw the ball to Larry Fitzgerald, good things would happen. Also, the 8th most points to tight ends. So, I mean, if it's a top 10, top 12 matchup, no matter how you look at it or wherever you start them. So,
right.
You know, on the offensive line, obviously, you can only start him in the wide receiver position for fantasy, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I like it. Hopefully they just, give him the ball.
It'd be nice.
It would be great. That was all of our wide receivers, wasn't it? Let's go to the tight end position where I am getting in on that Jets-Browns game, and I am starting Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Now, this is a guy who I've been telling a lot of people to pick up. And he has led the team in targets each of the last 2 weeks since he's been back from his suspension. He is a transformed player. You know, he got right during his suspension. He gave up drinking. He looks really good. He's been very productive for them. He, I think, is going to be kind of like Charles Clay, that sleeper tight end who's going to get a lot of volume and, you know, get it done through volume and yardage, not just be touchdown dependent. And this is a juicy matchup against the Cleveland Browns, who are giving up the second most points to fantasy tight ends. I am starting Austin Seferian-Jenkins with confidence. In fact, I would like him as a streaming option for a lot of the season because of how much volume he's getting in that offense. So, yeah, pick him up, play him, start him with confidence. CJ, your guy.
All right, man. Well, our Patreon users, you already got a head up on this one because I'm about to mention the guy that I'm talking about. Hunter Henry. I'm picking him this week going against the Giants because why? The Giants have been nothing but a Christmas store for them. I'm talking about 50% off on everything you need for the holidays when it comes to the tight end position. Giving up touchdowns after touchdowns. And this week right here, look, matter of fact, I'm going to change this from Hunter Henry to all Chargers tight ends. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to cover all my bases.
Boo, you can't start multiple tight ends.
Any tight end from the Chargers, you're going to score this week because the Giants are giving up the cookies. Start.
Boo. Though I will admit that the Giants are giving up the most points to fantasy tight ends. That part is true, but I don't like committees. Boo. Though, I mean, one of them's got to hit. One of them is definitely going to hit.
Somebody's hitting.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Henry. I agree with CJ on that one.
It is a odd week, so it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Oh, no,
exactly.
No, wait, was it the odd week? No, it's the odd weeks that he puts up goose eggs.
He scored last week, so
yeah,
this week might be Antonio.
No, he's due for a goose egg this week, based on his trends so far this season.
Back and forth.
Yeah, just saying, trends are real. Jason, your guy.
Well, I just picked on CJ's team. Time to pick on Griffin's team. I'm going to go with Jared Cook. They are playing the Ravens, who are the fifth best matchup against the tight end. That's the first reason. The second reason I'm going with Jared Cook is because E.J. Manuel is going to be the quarterback, and when he came into the game last week, he started targeting his tight end. He started looking for Jared Cook. His usage went up. I think that he continues that trend, and we see a lot more usage of Jared Cook, especially against a team that has not played well against the tight end.
This is all because of one game in England. I just want to put that out there. All right, so those are our starts of the week. They've been good besides that, just saying. So let's go to our sits of the week, and I am going to start by sitting someone who had a fantastic week last week, but I'm sitting him again. You know, we needed to see him do it. He did it last week against the Patriots. Well, he's got a much tougher matchup this week against the Detroit Lions. That is Cam Newton. Cam Newton has a long history being streaky, being flashy, and I don't think that what he did last week is a sign of things to come. Will he have those weeks? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be back-to-back or consistent in any way, shape, or form? Probably not. The Lions are giving up the fourth least points to fantasy quarterbacks, averaging only 10.7 points per week. That's terrible. I don't like it. I am not starting Cam Newton. I need to see more consistency out of him in an offense that is banged up and, as we talk about a lot, not the most creative one out there. CJ, your guy.
My guy. I talked about it earlier. Spoiler alert. I'm talking about Phillip Rivers. Look, Phillip Rivers, I love my dude, Phillip Rivers. But my man has not been playing good football, and this team has been losing. It's terrible. I mean, the running game has not been going on. And then you're going up against the Giants defense, which I would say can be scored on. And I did say they give them the cookies with the tight end, so I do expect them to be good. But I don't expect them to be great. And I need Phillip Rivers to be great. My man, look at these numbers I'm listening to. I'm about to list you as far as fantasy points. Over 23 points. Second week, 19 points. Third week, 3.48 points. And then last week, 23.88. There's no consistency right now. I need some consistency. And this guy is going against a corner trio that is pretty darn good and a good safety in Landon Collins. Listen, man, Philly was bringing that pressure to Rivers. I think the same thing the Giants are going to do, and it's going to be tough, man. You might get not just a fumble, but you might get some picks. And this dude has shown when it rains, it is snowing hard. That rain turns straight into hell. That's what this man does.
It's waiting for the connection.
Do it, man. Don't stay away from him.
But you just kind of contradicted yourself because you're starting all these tight ends, but you don't like the quarterback. But we've covered this extensively.
Man, I said a touchdown is coming. He's going to get one, but man, there might be some picks. He threw a touchdown, and he didn't throw no touchdowns in that Kansas City game. But look at the yardage, 237 yards. So Phillip Rivers, either Antonio Gates or Hunter Henry, they got a little bit of that. So if you're in a PPR league, you what we got 6, maybe 7 points out of that? That's still decent.
I'd have to look at it.
This is going to be an interesting week because this is a week where you get to look at, if you're a Phillip Rivers owner, you can either agree with CJ, you can agree with me, and more than likely there's going to be more people going CJ's way given how I've been doing this year. So I understand that. But
now I got your back, Jason.
I appreciate that. Someone has to. But I just have to say I just don't agree with it. He's had one bad game, really. But he's on a team that's not doing well, you're right, but it's not him. You know what I mean? He's still scoring. So I understand the pick.
It ain't the defense?
I understand it. I don't hate the pick. What's that?
I said it's not the defense, so who is it?
It's the rest of the team, man. He's scoring points. He's scoring points. He had one game where he didn't score.
We're spending way too much time on Phillip Rivers because we're just going back to arguments we already had.
All right.
But yeah, you could make an argument either way. But I agree with Jason's thought process here. This is a get-right game, and all the stats back that up. But yeah, I could see CJ's argument very easily as well. Jason, your guy, your sit.
All right, well, speaking of a team that can't seem to find a win unless they're playing the worst team in football, Cincinnati, I'm going to sit down Andy Dalton. He is playing the Buffalo Bills, who have been playing some pretty darn good defense recently. So I don't like it. That offensive line is a turnstile right now. So I would sit Andy Dalton, and he's probably going to be sitting through most of that game.
All right, let's move on to our running back sits of the week, and I am sitting one Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson, we all like CJ2K. He was a fantasy goldmine in years past. Look, the Cardinals are throwing the ball more than any other team in the league right now and not doing it overly efficiently. They're not giving a lot of volume to the running back. The running back is going against the Philadelphia Eagles defense, which is giving up the 5th least points to fantasy running backs. And as we've covered extensively throughout the week, and with Jason's pickup, his waiver wire target at the running back position, as soon as they get down, kind of like what we were talking about with Isaiah Crowell, Chris Johnson goes out of the game and Andre Ellington comes in. Chris Johnson can catch the ball, but that's Andre Ellington's specialty. So I don't like the matchup. I don't like the game script. I don't like the touch splits. Nothing about this is exciting to me. So I am sitting Chris Johnson this week on the road. It's a bad situation. Don't start Chris Johnson. Look elsewhere. CJ, your guy.
My guy is Eddie Lacy. Man, listen, I understand that this process elimination. The boy, what was the boy's name? Chris something? That was
Chris Carson.
Yeah, Chris Carson. Chris Carson, he was doing good. Now he's down, and you would just assume that Eddie Lacy's that guy. I disagree. I think there's 2 other running backs right there that was doing pretty good and have a lot of burst and acceleration that Pete Carroll likes versus Eddie Lacy. Look, I think he'll get the goal line looks. But I don't think he's a guy that you want to put in there and expecting good points. So I'm going to tell you to sit down Eddie Lacy this week because he's going to get outscored by his teammates.
Yep. So Eddie Lacy, though, I mean, I could see this going differently. It's so up in the air in Seattle. That offense seems to kind of be getting right, but we don't know which way they're going to go with Chris Carson being down. We need a week to see how they're going to approach it. So, yeah, I agree. I'm completely okay with taking a wait-and-see approach. Though Eddie Lacy did get the workload when Chris Carson went down last week, and he looked decent. So, I mean, we'll see. And it's a decent matchup.
I have to say, I have a funny feeling about this week with Eddie Lacy. I have a funny feeling he's going to go off for some reason. It's just a feeling. It's not enough for me to see him on my team. I'm not starting him, but I have a funny feeling about this week. That's all I got to say about it.
I second that, Jason. I really do, but I'm just not ballsy enough to start him because there's too many other guys that I really like.
I've lost enough games this year. So I don't need to go on a hunch when it comes to this kind of thing.
Look, the Rams are giving up the most points to fantasy running backs right now. They are just massive void of points right now. But
that's one of the reasons.
But you don't know how they're going to split it. There's 3 running backs there. But I think Eddie Lacy might be the guy. But I just it's a great matchup. but we just don't know how it's going to play out. So I would lean CJ's way. I would sit him. I would pick him up for sure, but I would probably wait a week to start him. Jason, your guy.
Okay, my guy, some people are going to get mad at, but that's all right. Lamar Miller.
No, I'm okay with this.
Look, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Lamar Miller is playing one of the best defenses in the league right now. They're going to play the Chiefs. These guys have been absolutely lights out. They have given up the fourth least points to the running back position. And honestly, Lamar Miller has not had a very good year. I mean, he's only had one really good game against Tennessee, and the rest of the time has been very pedestrian. Has not broken 100 yards yet on the ground, just on the ground, not total. He did break 100 yards total last week. But overall has not been a very good year for Lamar Miller, and he's going up against an extremely good defense, and honestly, a very, very good offense. So I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot. So, yeah, I'm going to sit down Lamar Miller if I've got him.
I would argue that game script would keep him in more than Deonta Foreman because he'd have more of a pass catching role. But yeah, I agree. They're giving up by my stats the third least points to the fantasy running back position, and it's just a bad matchup. I was thinking about making him my sit as well, so I'm more than okay with that if I have better options to look elsewhere. Wide receiver sits of the week. I am sitting with absolute confidence Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has been one of the three worst wide receivers each of the last 2 weeks. He's currently the 71st wide receiver in fantasy football. Not at all what you were drafting him as a top 12 guy in most draft boards. And he's got a tough matchup against the Ravens. The Ravens, for all their faults and their offensive inefficiencies that are keeping their defense on the field and just wearing them out, they are still giving up the fourth least points to fantasy wide receivers. And also, did we mention Derek Carr's not playing? Because he's not playing. So, Emmanuel Sanders, how do I keep doing that? EJ Manuel, what is wrong with me? EJ Manuel, he's a capable backup, but he's no Derek Carr. And especially with Michael Crabtree potentially being back, I think they're going to do a lot of shorter intermediate stuff. Amari Cooper's going to be more of a distraction. He might get a couple shots his way, but it's not enough for me to safely bank on, especially with how he's been the last few weeks. So I'm sitting Amari Cooper this week for sure.
I got to say right now, I got a shout out to CJ here. CJ, good call on Amari Cooper so far through the quarter of the season. He has not played well.
Yeah, man. Too up and down for me, man. Too inconsistent, man.
Yep.
All right, well, my guy, man, I'm sitting as Kevin Benjamin, man. I'm following Griffin's trend with the sitting Cam. Listen, man, Detroit have been really stingy with these wide receivers, man. They've been shutting down some good high-profile names, man. And right now, I just think, this defense, man, they're playing tough, and they're shutting down these opponents coming in with their number one. So, Kevin Benjamin, I don't see you doing a good week this week, man. That's why I'm sitting you down.
Yeah. Jason, your guy.
All right, so I have some explaining to do, and I know already. Okay, I know, but bear with me. Antonio Brown this week. I'm sitting down. I will tell. I know this is ballsy. Again, it's weird. It's strange, but I'll explain it. He actually has been very right. He's actually been very up and down this season. Has not played up to his normal standard. And part of that is because the team hasn't played up to their normal standard. 62 yards his second game, 34 yards his fourth game. So it's been on and off. 3 points last week against Baltimore. They shut him down. So now you look at who he's going to play this week. He's going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are the best team in the league against the pass right now. They're just shutting people down. That secondary is crazy. So given that, I have a bad feeling about Antonio Brown this week. Jacksonville's playing lights out against wide receivers. Antonio Brown is not having his normal season, and also Ben Roethlisberger has been a little shaky. So all these things combined, and seeing, I'm trying to be nice. All these things combined, and having seen him look like a mortal last week, I'm go ahead and sit him down.
I mean, that was a divisional game. But, I see where you're coming from,
Okay.
but Antonio Brown's just one of those talents that, to me, you just have to start because he can break it open against any team any week. And,
True.
the Jaguars wouldn't be ranked as high as they are if it wasn't for that abysmal performance against the Ravens where they had 4 receptions for 25 yards on the game. If you take that out of the equation, they're much further up the list as far as elite pass defenses. They're very good, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, the Steelers at home are much better than the Steelers on the road, which this is in Pittsburgh. I'm starting Antonio Brown, but I see where you're coming from for sure. Let's move on to the tight end position where I am sitting Jason Witten. How the mighty have fallen. He was very good to start the season, but it was kind of an unsustainable pace, especially for a guy his age. And he's going up against the Packers, who are giving up the second least points to fantasy tight end. They're averaging barely 5.5 points. Not something you want from your starting tight end. I think this is going to be a shootout, so I think they're going to be using all the wide receivers more. Could he sneak a touchdown? Yeah, he could, and in that case, that blows this theory open. But the Packers, they've just been very good. The highest production that they've had all season long is they gave up 8 points to one tight end. The rest of them have been 5 or less. So I'm not starting Jason Witten this week. There are just too many other good options that I like a lot more, especially considering you can get guys like Charles Clay and Austin Seferian-Jenkins for basically nothing right now.
He has scored 12 points in the last 2 weeks, so it's probably a good call.
He's come back to earth a little bit, so I don't like it. Jason, CJ, your guy.
Well, my guy is a Griffin darling, and I love to sit him every chance I get. That's Mr. Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron is going against the Panthers. Panthers have been stingy, downright selfish at the tight end position, defending the tight ends, man. So listen, I'm telling you right now, it's not a good matchup. It's not really good. Don't do it. Don't hurt yourself like Griffin does every year when drafting this guy.
I actually don't think I have any shares of him this year, not for lack of trying.
I do. I had him in the league.
Good.
Shut up. So my fit of the week is Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle is going up against Jack Doyle rules. Jack Doyle is going up against a team that has not been playing fantastic. However, for some reason, seems to be the best team in the league going up against tight ends.
You know
That's
why?
The 49ers.
Tell
me why.
They can't stop any of the playmakers. They can't stop the run or the pass. So the tight ends, they just haven't needed to use them.
They're like, we got to be good at something.
I don't think it's that they're good at it. I just think people haven't been needing to use them. They've been giving up points all over the place. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. They've given up 77 total yards to the tight end. That is by far and away the least amount. The next closest is the Bengals at 96. So, they're playing abysmally against they're playing very well, Tight ends are playing abysmally against the 49ers. So, given that and given the fact I don't believe in Jack Doyle that much, I'm sitting him down against the San Francisco 49ers.
And he'll go out there and have 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he will.
He'll go out there. That's been the trend for me this year. Every time I'm down on somebody, they have a great week. So I probably should have sat Isaiah Crowell. He would have gone out and scored 100 points.
I toyed with the idea of starting all these Colts players. Jacoby Brissett, Frank Gore. I was thinking about T.Y. Hilton, but I figured people are starting him anyway. Jack Doyle. It could go, like you said, they statistically are the best defense against the tight ends, but I don't think they've been really challenged in that department yet. So, we'll see. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Yeah, that is going to do it for us today. That was really bad. Please make sure you guys tune in on Tuesday when we will be recapping and reviewing the studs and duds from week number 5, and of course covering all of our top waiver wire targets for week number 6. Please let there be no more major injuries for at least a while. Come on, there were so many last week. Remember, if you want to support the show and get a bonus episode every single week, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. It's a good time, guys. Lots of amazing content over there. The shows that we do over there they're top notch. We've previewed a few, and they get a lot of really good feedback here on the regular airways. Also, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. Easiest way to follow the show and get news and submit questions on Twitter at the FF Fanatics. So that's 3 F's in there. The FF Fanatics. You can also follow us individually. I'm at G Palmer FFF. CJ is at CJ Hickman 89, and Jason is at Jason Cabrera 13. So we're out of here. We will see you on Tuesday. Any parting thoughts, guys?
Man, it's the battle of the co-hosts out here, man. Jason Cabrera versus CJ. Cardinals Philly, Larry ain't scoring 15 points this week.
There's a lot of directly conflicting storylines this week for this show. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. So, yeah, anything you want to add, Jason? Are you done?
Hey, go Cards.
Not a homer at all. All right, we'll see you guys Tuesday. Take care. Bye.
Life in the fast lane.
I'm unabashedly a homer. I have no problem.
Only got a gallon in the gas tank, but I'm almost at the finish line, so I can't stop now. I don't really know where I'm headed, just enjoying the ride. Just gonna roll till I drop and ride till I die.